For decades, Las Vegas had no real competition, but that is starting to change, and most people have no idea it is already happening. 3 cities across Asia are quietly building casino empires that rival the Strip itself. We ranked them by revenue scale, growth trajectory, and strategic threat to Vegas, starting at number 3, the one rising fastest from the ground up. First up, every city in this investigation is judged by the same rigorous standards. The analysis draws on official data from the Nevada Gaming Control Board, Macau's DICJ, Singapore's Integrated Resorts filings, and PAGCOR in the Philippines. Tourism flows are tracked with United Nations World Tourism Organization figures, while market share and revenue trends rely on Eilers and Krejcik and STR's hotel performance data. Interviews with casino executives, urban economists, and regulatory officials provide context behind the numbers. This approach ensures each contender is evaluated on revenue scale, visitor growth, infrastructure investment, and regulatory climate. By grounding every comparison in these sources, the documentary avoids hype and speculation, focusing instead on what the data and industry experts reveal about the shifting balance of power in global gambling. Next, Manila's entertainment city stands as a powerful example of rapid casino-driven urban transformation. Launched in the early 2010s on the edge of Manila Bay, this 16-hectare cluster of integrated resorts was designed to spark economic growth and modernize the city's image. The numbers tell a striking story. Recent audits from PAGCOR estimate around 23,000 direct jobs within the casino, hotel, and hospitality sectors, and when accounting for suppliers and service providers, the total employment impact rises to roughly 55,000 across Metro Manila. This employment surge is matched by a wave of small business growth. Within 1 kilometer of Entertainment City, micro-enterprise surveys show a 27% increase in monthly sales for food vendors, transport operators, and souvenir shops since 2018. Construction spending has also been substantial, with $3.7 billion in private and public capital invested between 2014 and 2022, including $1.2 billion earmarked for roads, utilities, and transit upgrades that benefit the wider community. Yet, the social trade-offs are impossible to ignore. The National Center for Mental Health's data puts Manila's problem gambling rate at 3.8%, double the national average, with the highest risk concentrated among young, low-income men. The expansion of Entertainment City displaced nearly 12,000 residents, most from informal housing, and a majority relocated to outlying districts with longer commutes and weaker access to services. Public health agencies have tracked a 12% rise in emergency room visits for alcohol-related injuries and a 9% uptick in accident admissions in neighborhoods bordering the casino zone. For every story of economic lift, there is a parallel narrative of hardship and adaptation, revealing the complex reality behind Manila's ascent as a regional gambling hub. Also worth considering, Singapore has engineered a casino tourism model that looks nothing like the old Las Vegas playbook. Instead of chasing mass market volume, Singapore's integrated resorts are optimized for high-yield visitors, those who spend more per trip, stay longer, and generate revenue well beyond the gaming floor. The mechanics behind this shift are deliberate. Casino entry for local citizens is tightly restricted, with a mandatory daily levy that discourages casual play and channels demand toward international guests. For tourists, the process is seamless. A 30-day multiple entry visa expedited at Changi Airport aligns perfectly with the city's strategy to attract high-rolling travelers from China, India, and the Middle East. The government's role goes far beyond regulation. Through Temasek Holdings, Singapore holds a strategic stake in both Marina Bay Sands and Resorts World Sentosa, ensuring public interests are embedded in resort operations. This state-backed credibility reassures international investors and signals long-term policy stability, a stark contrast to the boom-bust cycles seen in other markets. Taxation is set at a flat 15% of gross gaming revenue, but operators are required to allocate substantial funds, over $300 million annually, to the Tourism Development Fund. These subsidies fuel a constant stream of non-gaming attractions, from Universal Studios to global conventions, making the city a magnet for MICE business. Yield per visitor is where Singapore truly separates itself. According to the Singapore Tourism Board, the average spend per casino guest now exceeds $2,200 per trip, nearly double the figure reported by the Nevada Gaming Control Board for Las Vegas. Hotel occupancy routinely tops 89%, and average daily rates at Marina Bay Sands reached 280 Singapore dollars in 2024, outpacing most Strip properties. Changi Airport's planned Terminal 5 expansion, set to boost capacity to 120 million passengers a year, only amplifies this effect, tightening the feedback loop between air connectivity and resort profitability. Industry analysts caution that simply replicating Las Vegas's entertainment-heavy formula will not close this gap. Singapore's success hinges on a tightly integrated system, government partnerships, targeted taxation, and relentless focus on high-value guests that raises the bar for what a casino city can deliver. For operators, the lesson is clear. Maximizing visitor yield now matters more than sheer volume, and Singapore's model is setting the new global standard. Macau's grip on the global gambling industry is defined by numbers that leave little room for debate. In 2024, gross gaming revenue soared to MOP 247 billion, nearly $31 billion, outpacing the Las Vegas Strip by more than 4 times at its peak. Even after the COVID pandemic, Macau rebounded to 96% of its pre-COVID levels, while Nevada's recovery has been slower and less complete. The engine behind this resurgence is the city's unique market structure, where VIP Baccarat alone generates 65% of all gaming revenue, a dominance unmatched by any other gambling hub. For operators like Wynn, nearly half of Macau revenue comes from direct VIP play, with aggressive loyalty programs and tailored incentives driving a 26% annual increase in this segment. Market concentration shapes the competitive landscape. 3 giants, Sands China, Galaxy Entertainment, and Melco Resorts, control over 70% of the action. Sands China, with a 26.6% share in 2023, leverages its Cotai Strip mega resorts to draw both mass-market visitors and high-stakes gamblers. The Cotai expansion, launched after the 2002 liberalization, turned reclaimed land into a dense corridor of integrated resorts, maximizing both gaming floor space and hotel capacity. By 2025, Macau boasted 115,000 hotel rooms and 9.5 million square meters of casino floor, dwarfing the Las Vegas Strip's capacity. Regulation in Macau is both strict and strategic. The government imposes a 35% tax on gross gaming revenue, channeling MOP 23 billion annually into public coffers. At the same time, visa policies for mainland Chinese VIPs remain flexible, with 30-day stays on arrival, while the number of junket operators is tightly capped to push more revenue through direct play tables. This has shifted the market mix, with mass and premium mass segments now making up more than 20% of total revenue, a share that continues to grow as new Cotai projects come online. Infrastructure keeps pace with ambition. Terminal 3 at Macau International Airport expanded capacity to 19 million passengers a year, and the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge now connects the city to Shenzhen in just 30 minutes. Retail sales in Cotai climbed 9% in 2024, fueled by casino guests and international arrivals. Analysts describe Macau as the world's only true casino city, where capital, policy, and operator power combine to set the global standard. And finally, in first place, the direction for executives, policymakers, and investors is clear. Data must drive every decision from this point forward. The competitive landscape is shifting too quickly for annual reports or static benchmarks to suffice. Monthly tracking of gross gaming revenue, average daily rates, and VIP flow should become standard practice, using regulator-published datasets from the Nevada Gaming Control Board, Macau's DICJ, Singapore's integrated resorts, and PAGCOR in Manila. Scenario planning should be refreshed quarterly, factoring in sudden regulatory changes, shifts in travel patterns, and the pace of infrastructure expansion. For operators, this means building dashboards that monitor not just headline revenue, but market mix, length of stay, and non-gaming spend. For policymakers, it means commissioning independent audits of economic impact and social costs, ensuring that public investments yield broad-based benefits. Investors should insist on transparent reporting and third-party verification of key metrics before committing capital to new projects. The next decade will reward those who move beyond intuition and tradition, embracing a cadence of evidence-based evaluation. The future of global gambling will be written by those who collect the right data, ask the right questions, and adapt their strategies in real time. Across all 3 destinations, one pattern stands out. The era of a single, uncontested gambling capital is over. Global competition, backed by massive investment and shifting traveler expectations, is redrawing the map. Today, the future of gaming belongs to cities that adapt before their legacy becomes their limit.